all for being here. I'd like to start by thanking Maria Grazia, thanking Rosanna Di Nuzzo also for the invitation. It's great to be here with so many new friends, but also friends we've been working with for many years now in some cases, with partners from Ars Electronica, from Gluon, from Laboral, from ZKM, also in other projects. So it's both familiar and also a moment for discovery. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Onassis Foundation, Onassis Day, the Onassis Cultural Center. The Onassis Cultural Center is a division of a larger foundation that's active in the fields of education, culture, and health. It's a contemporary center for creativity. It's not a digital center per se, it's not a theater, it's not a dance space, it's not an exhibition space, but it's all of these things at once, and it's also very active outside its own building. We are one of the main institutions in Greece, privately funded, supporting work by artists based in Greece. We bring powerful projects to Greece. We organize meetings, residencies, international exchanges. We work a lot in networks. I mentioned some of the partners who are here in the room today, and often in the public space. And let's say the motto of the foundation is, we create the conditions, seek the ideas, and spark the debates that lead to a better society. And that is very much what we're about, as I'll say later. We are a commissioning organization of new work to artists. We organize residencies, very often in the context of international networks, like the Repairing the Present Starts Regional Center 3, that this event is a part of. Co-productions of works that then tour, and presenting existing works by works from artists or from outside Greece, either in Greece or not. So, for example, the Greek participation in this year's Biennale at Venezia is supported by the Onassis Foundation, is actually a co-production of the Onassis Foundation, so I'll show it later. Also active in producing educational programs, running hackathons, so generally having a whole sphere of activities that surround, let's say, the actual artworks themselves or the projects themselves. At the moment, we're in a new phase of our development. We're actually now starting to develop production spaces for the digital realm, so I'll move on to that more specifically now. Most importantly, a new lab in New York, the ONX studio, which is an accelerator, a subsidized production studio and workspace, an exhibition gallery located Midtown, New York, created in partnership between the Onassis Foundation and the New Museum's New Inc. So it's let's say, a joint venture between these two organizations. It's a hybrid space where work is created and presented. It's an accelerator, a subsidized production studio, and a workspace and an exhibition gallery. And each year, the center will transform into a mixed reality gallery for a month-long showcase featuring artists working in there. And we've already been to Sundance and South by Southwest, and also works shown by artists from the studio in Athens. So our objective is to reach out beyond the familiar audiences and media art, and go to a broader public, which is why we're very interested in finding ways to present work in contexts that are perhaps not the standard gallery space. Like at the moment, in Athens, we have what is probably one of the largest open-air digital art exhibitions called Plasmata, Beings, in one of the main central parks in Athens. And this is a really tremendous opportunity following on from a project we did last year in the context of a European network called AI Lab, which was run by Ars Electronica, to really get this cutting-edge work out into the public space. And that, for us, is very, very important. This park is one of the only really multicultural, trans-class areas in Athens. And to have this opportunity to have literally thousands of people a day coming into contact with work, I'll show some of them in the presentation, is really important. Because, as is suggested by the, let's say, the motto I mentioned earlier, what really drives our work is trying to engage with critical issues of today. We really do think that the role of contemporary cultural centers is not only to produce great work, but to create great work that really does help interrogate the world around us. And several other people have mentioned this as being a priority, and it's great to hear that we're not losing touch with that fundamental role, to produce experiences and thought processes that do lead us to think about what's happening around us. So I've grouped the works I'm going to show you now, which come from a wide variety of exhibitions and presentation contexts, into three thematic areas: one to do with the body, one to do with environment, one to do with democracy and power. So on the body, very quickly, I'll just go through these very quickly. This was a work by George Aperis called Thinking Things. It's a stage work co-produced with IRCAM in Paris. So it's a musical theater work. So we don't only do work that is, let's say, for the exhibition space. We're also a performing arts center, so that's really quite important. So Thinking Things was creating an artificial plastic universe of sound while exploring the interaction between humans and machines. Again, using digital technologies to develop narratives that warp our experiences and expectations. Exploring the interactive potential of digital media to resituate one's own body within different capacities and in imaginary landscapes. Creating imaginary and speculative beings that test our understanding of ourselves by radically altering parameters of our existence. Digital bodies that test our modes of empathy and interaction. This is, as you can see, this is one of the works, as the previous one also, that's in this public park I was telling you about. As is this one, which is examining the use of wearable technologies and prosthetics to radically alter the capacities and the very functioning of the body. And indeed, this one from a previous exhibition called Sarotis, which is a scanner, which is an interactive, let's say, wearable interface between the body and the environment that actually transmits signals to the body about the environment the person wearing it is in. Which brings me to the second thematic group, which is the environment itself. I should say that STEGI is an institution that is very concerned by its environmental impact. We've been working with an organization from the UK for the last 4 years called Julie's Bicycle in working on reducing both our carbon impact and also our waste. And we're now extending this project to do a more general sustainability audit of our organization, going beyond carbon and waste and dealing with a whole range of the United Nations SDGs. So it's a theme that's quite fundamental for us generally. Here is an older work by James Bridle, a UK-born artist who's now working in Greece. This work was sort of bringing together data about wind movements and combining that with a search process to sort of do a narrative mapping, let's say, of the world using wind as a power. A very beautiful work by Marshmallow Laser Feast, who I'm sure you all know, that really takes you inside a radically different organism, or one that is fundamentally part of our environment, the tree, and try and establish that different relationship with the environment. Whoops, sorry, I missed one. Sorry, this is the one by the tree by Marshmallow Laser Fest. I must have missed a slide before. And this is another work based on the tree, which is a work we presented in Onyx in New York, which enables you to sort of really work your way inside a forest. This one is a digital speculative piece about what it would be to create an alternative environment. This one is an imaginary environment on Mars, so using digital technologies to imagine radically different forms of environments, or imagining what the world might look like in a kind of post-apocalyptic environment. So again, using the speculative power of the digital technologies to interrogate what's happening in our environment around us. So very, very quickly, here again, using artificial and neural networks to create narratives about the world, or examining the role of AI technologies in environmental planning. Going on to the third topic, which is power. One of the things we're doing here, this is the work by Lucia Alavanu in Biennale. So interrogating through the myth of Oedipus et Colonos, power relationships in the contemporary world. This is a piece by Kyriaki Roni, where she examines how the DNA of plants could be used to store data by, let's say, an environmental resistance group. And this one is, again, creating alternative digital hubs which circumvent the power exerted by the big platforms. Very, very quickly, 30 more seconds. Again, a program here about power, the work by Pina Yoldas about AI governing processes in society. And a piece by Median Grupa Bitnik about how digital technologies infiltrate the most personal forms of relationships, or how digital technologies are used to pass individuals into categories. This is a very interesting interactive piece. The bias of digital technologies through the database and the AI processes interact them. There's a feminist, feminist data activism, and last but not least, creating alternative databases that integrate queer technologies and queer personalities and beings. So as you can see, that's it from me. Just a panorama of the works we've been presenting over the last years that sort of demonstrate how we try and get these digital technologies to work in a critical sense and create interrogations about the world we're living in. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Christos.